I was lost at the beginning. My French skills were terrible. I didn't know what I was doing. I couldn't put up more than 3 or 4 words. And wherever I would do that, I wasn't able to understand what they were saying. Hi, is this resonates? Welcome to my channel. This is Fabian. Today I developed for you a story time about my experience learning French. If you don't know me yet, I'm an international student here. I'm Latino. I was born in Honduras and I'm currently living in France. I'm pursuing my master's degree in foreign applied languages because I got a full scholarship here as a full-time student. I am a polyglot who speaks 4 languages: Spanish, English, French, and German. And today I decided to do this video to provide you a little bit of my background and to also share with you a method that worked for me and a key game changer that I understood that I'll be sharing with you at the end of this video. Disclaimer before I proceed, I'm looking to bash any type of methodology or application. I just looking to provide a little bit of my experience, and it might be useful for you in your process of looking scholarships or internships overseas. So it is funny because I started learning French 9 years ago. And the interesting part is that I started learning it because of a weak reason. It was purposeless. And it was pretty much that I had a crush on a female classmate back in my home country where I did my bachelor's degree at the university. So you pretty much had to choose a third language and studied it for a year, 4 classes of that. And I chose French just to be classmates with her. But it was in that class, within the process, that I was very passionate about French language and that I became in love of it. I know it sounds very cliche because on top of that, French is like the romantic language. You know, we have this concept, this idealization with the Paris type fashion designs, the chocolate, and everything that looks Instagrammy aesthetic. And that's why I believe it's kind of cliche. With that being said, I was able to study for a year and got a good level. Once that course was over, it was up to us to decide whether we want to pursue it or not. And here's where I believe I have more merit of learning French than of learning English. If you don't know yet, you can check out this video where I did a couple days ago, where I spoke about my journey of learning English and some tips and tricks that I've found so far in learning languages. If you would like to check it out, it's very useful for you. Now, my French language learning process was very different from the one in English, because the English, I had the privilege of studying in a private bilingual institute in my home country. My mom eventually became a single mom and worked really hard so that I could have bilingual studies there, bilingual education, and therefore develop a career in my home country before arriving here in France. Whereas French, yes, she also helped me a bit pay my bachelor's studies, but it was also on me. I was already an adult. And after that year where I studied at that university, I decided to study myself in Duolingo with different apps. Mainly Duolingo. I also use Preply. So like I said, this is not to bash any application, nor sponsored, nor bash on Duolingo, nor Preply, nor any of those apps. It's just my story, the ones that I've used. Because at the end of the day, those are applications, which are tools, right? They're not the base level of your language learning app. I did that fast forward to COVID-19, where this same professor who taught me French in university built up her own academy. Unfortunately, she then moved out to Quebec, like a little before a year after she built her online courses, where I was continuing my French studies. At that moment, it was very great because I learned how to conjugate in more tenses. It was no longer the present, past, and future. I started learning other type of conjugation, like the conditional one or the simple past tense. I believe it's the name in English, and also the imperfect one, right? Then the subjunctive, I believe it's the name in English. Sorry, it's subjunctive in French. And with that, I was able to continue my language French learning process. Now, in 2022, I had the opportunity to visit France. I thought I was going well. And when I visited, I realized I was very shy and that my French was more basic than what I thought, because I would only study it on an academic point of view. When I realized that learning a language goes much more beyond that. And the thing was that whenever I would understand it or speak it, whenever I had the courage to sum up a couple words and actually build up a sentence, the second problem would arrive is that I was able to understand a single word or what they were saying, or maybe one or two words. And based on that, I could decipher or decode their response. They would also do hand signs. And I was able to understand what they said, what they replied. I came back to my home country, but I also came back motivated to realize, wow, I got a good level, a good progress. But it wasn't enough until I realized that I had to immerse in that language, that I had to integrate it in my day-to-day life. I also started using logic. Based on my home country, I would also like to let you know that learning French for me is probably easier than someone that's Arabic speaking or Mandarin speaking, because Latin language are cousins. So for instance, I found the logic in passé composé, which is composed past tense. The past tense where you say a kind of small sentence. So je joué would be yo he jugado in English, in Spanish, sorry. So je joué would be yo he jugado. I have played in English. Whereas passé simple is different. And I didn't understand that until I realized that. So that would be one methodology that worked for me, to actually use logic and understand what does this actually means in my mother tongue. But the mentality, the mindset that I realized, besides being disciplined and using these methodologies, was, and also that I had to immerse it and integrate it in my life, was that I had to lose that fear of looking dumb. And this is a great mindset that I had once I was there in France. I was making an effort to speak French, and they were actually very welcoming. Until the day, my master's degree has gone wonderful as an international student. I have had really good experiences because they are willing to put up an effort to understand what you're saying, because you're putting an effort. You're not afraid of looking dumb. And that was a game changer for me. Realizing that you're human, that you will always have an accent, that it's okay if you make mistakes. Learning a language, if you analyze it, is like developing any skill. So whatever skill that you're good at, think about that skill. At the beginning, you were probably really bad. Honestly, you were 99% plus possibilities that you sucked at. That's the truth. The same goes with language. If you're spoken a language your entire life, don't expect to have like a really solid level in that other language just as you start speaking it. It's a process. It's like dancing. It's like playing an instrument. It's like building a business. It's like learning how to cook. Even that, the most basic things to do. And with French, very similar to English, I just had to understand that I had to study the four aspects: speaking, listening, writing, and reading. If you want to learn how to speak French, it's very important that you understand that you need to practice it, that you need to develop your tongue, your pronunciation. So speak in front of a mirror, record yourself on with a voice memo, speak out loud, read out loud. With listening, listen to podcasts. And if you don't have enough time, what you can do is actually listen while you cook, while you do the dishes, while you work out. Integrate it basically in your day-to-day life. Talk about the things, or listen to the things that you like to listen or speak in real life in your mother tongue, but do it in French. I would also write and read. I had a Google Docs where I had a journal speaking about what happened to me that day. Sometimes I would speak about soccer, religion, politics, economy, biology, anything. I would write it down. You can do it handwritten or you can do it typewritten, whatever you want to do it. And do that consistently at least 3 times a week. And then you should also read it in different type of novels or books. So that way you'll be able to understand more. And if you can actually read out loud so that you can develop two elements there, the speaking and the reading part, it's even better. Now, as for reading and in any of those elements, actually, at the beginning, it's going to be very tempting for you to do it in the language or related to topics that you enjoy. But once you reach some sort of low fluency, I would advise you to go a step further and actually start testing yourself, start challenging yourself and listening to podcasts or write or read any article that's not from your major favorite hobbies, but maybe of your career. So let's say you love fashion and sports and, I don't know, Pilates or yoga, and you already read articles in French about those topics, but you haven't read one that's about medicine. I don't know, you're a doctor or a dentist. Then consider reading one in that topic. French is not the toughest language in the world. The French are not rude. Of course, there are exceptions. And sometimes we also have to accept that our language might not be enough and the other person can have a harder time understanding what we're trying to say. But the truth is, I haven't had nothing but good experiences here so far. In Brest, everything's going well. No one has ever mocked about my accent. And they immediately automatically detect that I'm not a French speaker person, so don't even try making them think that you're a francophone. So I really hope that this works for you. Please like, subscribe, comment. And also please take a look at this video where I spoke about English and my process of learning there. I think is going to be very useful for you. And until next one.